Hi friends, happy Tuesday. What are we? October 19th. I can't believe how fast this month is going. We just had a Board of Supervisors meeting, and so in case you weren't able to tune in, there were some complications early on. I wanted to go ahead and highlight some of the things that went on. So we had some of the basics. One of the issues that came up under the flood control district was a request for electric easement. And what's been happening, and we've received several complaints here in the District 5 office from community members who Tucson Electric Power is sort of decimating all of the natural habitat around a certain area in order to put in, electric, like whatever they need for electric, whether it's underground, whether it's over top. I mean, it's interesting how the pictures that we've seen as far as before and after are really devastating, and the consequences to Tucson Electric Power are fairly minimal, like $300 for knocking down like several saguaros. So what I sort of threw out there, because our amazing staff found out about it, is that Scottsdale has had required undergrounding since June 26, 1979. And so this is here in Arizona, and I just think that we need to push for that more. California's had it since like 68 and 70s. So I'd like to see more of that here in Pima County and in Tucson. We had a consent agenda item, approval of the consent, and really the only item that I pulled off was a request for some ballistic shields, and I was trying to understand whether that's all we could do with that funding, but apparently it was. So we purchased 10 ballistic shields for use in the community, and it concerned me because it said specifically school districts, which I thought was weird, but I was assured that that's all that money could be spent on. And so it's additional equipment for our law enforcement, and that passed. We did approve our new Senator Stephanie Stahl Hamilton for Legislative District 10. I wanted to do that 2 weeks ago. I'm glad that passed, and it passed 4-1 with a Supervisor Christie abstaining, which I think was great. And I want to thank Larry Wagner and Tom Chabin for just giving me the opportunity to talk with them. I really appreciated their willingness to join and put their name into the hat, and I'm just very glad that Stephanie Stahl Hamilton is going to be representing us. And so congratulations, my friend. I know you'll do a great job. We had a lot of COVID, and so I'm going to go ahead and just take a little pause on that in order to go over the other items before I get into COVID. There was an item under the Industrial Development Authority. Basically what that means is Pima County issues bonds to different organizations, nonprofits, and then we recoup a fee. And the fee for this $230 million rebonding, and it's a refunding of bonds for the American Leadership Academy project. This is a charter school system that is in Maricopa County and would affect Gilbert, Queen Creek, and Florence Unified. And I was completely opposed, and am completely opposed to Pima County putting funding towards any charter schools, let alone those in Maricopa. And so I voted absolutely against that, and Dr. Hines joined me, and unfortunately that item passed 3-2. So I'd like to some pressure to be put on our other supervisors, and so we get out of the charter school system here in Pima County and profiting off the charter school system. And so on the regular agenda, I think that covers that one. Then we moved on to the addendum item, and there was an appointment of a constable for the Justice Precinct 5, William J. Lake Wright. It was one of those where it's for another year. It's the end of the term of that constable. And so I voted in favor of that. We did have a discussion again about in-person meetings, and this was an item brought forward by Supervisor Christie, and he was not in the he voted in favor of this item last time, and it failed. So by parliamentary rules, we shouldn't have discussed this item, but we had the discussion again, and once again the item failed to go forward. And so it was a 3-2, where the majority of us are not opposed to in-person meetings. We just think all of the board members should have to be there. And the biggest objection that I heard from Supervisor Christie is that he doesn't want to wear a mask. And so I think that if all 5 board members are there on the dais, listening to the call to the public, and all of us are wearing masks, there's likely to be less dissension from public people coming into the call to the audience, and also it's a requirement for every other county employee, and so I don't see why we shouldn't have to follow the same rules as the public coming into our buildings or as our employees. And so hopefully it appears that we're going to not be in person until there's no mask requirement in Pima County. And considering where our numbers are right now, I'm not sure when that will be. We're still in fairly high transmission. Dr. Garcia mentioned that we were still at about between 150 and 170 over 100,000. What that really means is about 400 new cases a week or 1,600 new cases a month of people contracting COVID. And so we have not decreased, and we still have a very high number of people that are hospitalized with COVID-like symptoms, and more people contracting COVID, and more breakthrough cases. And so please be careful out there, my friends. Let's talk a little bit about a COVID update from the county. So we actually have moved the pendulum a little bit. So now 80% of our county employees are fully vaccinated, which is great. The departments that are still fairly low are the sheriff's department at 59%, and I'm not sure how many of those employees are law enforcement. So if you look at the active employees, it's 1,356, and of those, 769 are vaccinated employees. I'm very concerned with those numbers, and the estimates from Sheriff Nanos when we spoke last were that are his uniformed officers. The percentage is significantly less. That is, civilian employees are actually more likely to be vaccinated than not. But we did have an incredible number of departments that have moved into the 90s, and 90% of their employees are fully vaccinated. We have the assessors, the Justice Court AHO, risk and finance and risk management, elections. Public Defense Services is at 94% with 261 of their 279 employees vaccinated. Those numbers are incredibly impressive, and so I just want to give a shout out to those departments that are really just doing a great job in encouraging their people to be vaccinated. Superior Court with 540 of their 628 employees vaccinated, 86%. And so I do think that these incentives are working. But because they are not working for everyone, the Board of Supervisors did vote to mandate vaccines, and this is the language. We voted in favor of mandatory for only employees who work with vulnerable populations. Mr. Huckleberry is going to come back with a list of what those departments are, but my argument was we don't know who's vulnerable. I don't know if someone in my office is vulnerable if they've chosen not to share their medical history. So someone that's immunocompromised it's not obvious to everybody, and so I'm very curious to see what that list will entail. Those employees must be fully vaccinated by January 1, 2020. That date was selected because there is an active court case right now that should be resolved by that date. If not vaccinated by that date, then an employee will receive disciplinary action up to and including termination of their employment. Incentive number option 3, so that was option 2. Option 3, incentive 300 one-time payment plus 3 days of annual leave, a disincentive of $45.51 per pay period for medical insurance, must be vaccinated for promotion to transfer or change in a position at a higher rate of pay. So I think that that's important. All new hires must be vaccinated. And then we also added in option 4, which is outside employment and off-duty employment disallowed for unvaccinated employees. So that was the criteria. And I would have been willing to do more, but this item passed 4-1. And so I'm glad of that. And I also clarified with Mr. Huckleberry that if this doesn't move the pendulum more, that we can always come back and revisit this. And I think that that is a good option for the board. Let me talk a little bit about boosters. And so I was very happy to hear that at our next meeting, Mr. Huckleberry is anticipating having an attachment to the COVID-19 item because Moderna boosters and boosts and vaccines for our 5 to 11-year-olds should be approved by as early as soon as this week. And so I'm very excited to hear that because as you might know, I have a 10-year-old at home who is very anxious to be vaccinated and also, quite frankly, very anxious to go to Disneyland. So these are these are things that are important in our household, and I would just be so happy and so relieved when he's safe. And so the Moderna booster is available at county facilities and everywhere for a third dose for immunocompromised. So if you're using steroids on an ongoing basis, any other immunocompromised, if you're going through chemotherapy, you're right now can get the third dose of the Moderna booster. And the criteria for Pfizer booster right now is you've received your first 2 doses, you're over 65 or immunocompromised. And they are allowing for law enforcement, nurses, teachers, that same group of essential workers that were able to get their vaccine early when they first came out. Though everyone is available to everyone who received the Pfizer booster. And I think that was really a good information to share, and so we'll make sure to blast that out because I don't know that everyone knows that. And as soon as that Moderna booster is available and Pfizer is available for our younger children, I'll be sure to let you know. And then we have 98 to 99% of those that are in the hospital with COVID symptoms are unvaccinated. And so I think that the information is pretty clear. Please get vaccinated if you're not. And I did want to highlight that we just had a plática in Spanish with Dr. Garcia, Dr. Trujillo, and Paula Jenko. And so I think that it's important that if you would like to check that out and share that, it would be really helpful. Many people in our Spanish-speaking communities are not vaccinated. We are very under-vaccinated for our population, and we're just doing everything we can to try to encourage people to be vaccinated. So this was actually a number that I was challenged a couple times from letters that are emailed to me and some comments on Facebook and other social media. Well, you keep talking about the extra cost, but what is the extra cost? So I'm happy to say that Mr. Huckleberry got that information to us, and between January 2020 at the height of COVID and September 2021 last month, the county has expended $3.4 million for COVID-related payouts. That includes $1.5 million in inpatient hospital treatments and hospitalizations, and $400,000 in emergency room visits for Pima County employees or those that are covered by Pima County insurance to get the medical treatment that they need because of COVID-like symptoms. So 1,004 employees have contracted COVID since the beginning of the pandemic of the 6,800. And so I think that those are all really sobering numbers, and we're going to continue to advocate as much as we can to reduce the number of people that are unvaccinated in Pima County, especially here right around us. So I think that was, those were the highlights. Our meeting didn't last incredibly long. It was about 1:35, but we did cover some really important items. And I would like to say, and I said this during the board meeting, that I'd like to encourage all of you to please wear purple on Thursday. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Day. And encourage you to take a picture of yourself, put it on all your social media, and put a link there for domestic violence awareness. We'll also add the link to this summary so you can cut and paste it. And also a reminder to please vote in the city of Tucson and in the Vail Unified School District. There will be an election November 2nd, and the last day to drop your ballot in the mail would be Wednesday, October 27th. So please vote if you live in the city or in Vail Unified. Thank you.